so as we've answered the first question. The second one is, how has she used her poem or her poetry to show you this fear over the loss of her family? Bless you, Will. Okay, so going into your notes, okay, you can go back to the planning that we did yesterday. You can go into your annotations. It doesn't matter. But how has she used her poetry to show us, she's not going to tell us, to show us the fear of the mother? Yep, so
I don't know.
what type of poetry is it? Is it a metaphor? Is it a... Yeah? Okay, so the use...
Like maternal hurt.
Okay. The use of...
I don't know.
You ready to listen?
It might not be.
The use of the metaphor bias binding. Let's do yellow bias binding. Okay, so the use of the metaphor yellow bias binding, does it create an image? Archie? Can you wait? Off you go. Okay, the use of the metaphor bias binding creates an image that what? What image does it create or evoke?
She's scared.
Mm-hmm. In what way?
Because it's like frayed edges, isn't it?
Good. Okay, so it creates an image that the mother is scared and vulnerable. Yes?
Yeah.
Ah, hang on. Is scared and vulnerable, and the bias binding protects the exposed edge of the fabric. Okay. This clearly represents her raw, yes, feelings at the loss of, who's she losing? Okay, her son to war, as well as, so we're looking at different interpretations, layering our interpretations. It's not just a simple case if it's black and white. There are always grey areas, and if you want to push yourselves into the higher marks, so looking at level 5, looking at alternative, the possibility there is a different interpretation, as well as, okay, so if it's protecting her raw feelings, what is the bias binding to her in relation to her child? How might it represent her? Good. Okay, as well as the possibility that she needs to protect her son. Okay, so we've got two interpretations that are floating around there. That's really nice. Have we, hook or by crook, have we kind of moved into the why as well? Yeah? So can you see now at this point, the how and the why are beginning to blend into each other. That's absolutely perfect. Okay, you don't have to feel that you are a slave to the each segments of the what, how, why. If you can start blending them in together and they become more of a discussion and a fluid process through the poems, your ability to write a watertight, solid argument increases. Therefore, so do your marks. Okay, because it becomes a conceptual response. If your point, evidence, explain, it's really mechanical. This is what it is. This is what it says. This is what it means, and there is no creativity around that, you're not really going to shift above a level 3, okay, which is no more than 15 out of 30. We can do better than that. Okay, Let's have a look at the where. Where can we create a link?
Like where she says that she's slowly melting.
Good. Now, are we creating a link within the poem still, or are we moving into the second poem? Because if it's slowly melting, I think we can keep hold of that, because I think we can use that again.
Okay.
Are we going to do another Poppies paragraph, or are we going to do a link to Remains? A link to Remains. Now, one really good technique of making sure that you do the link to the Remains quite quickly is if you suddenly disappear in time, bearing in mind that this is paper 2, section C, you would have already, no, section B, you would have already done an Inspector Calls for 45 minutes. You've now got Poppies for 45 minutes. If you, for some reason, write Inspector Calls for like an hour and a half, don't do that, but you never know. And you've got 25 minutes or half an hour to do 2 Poppies. If you only answer on 1 poem, your marks will be capped at level 2, which means you will get no more than 10. Therefore, you bring in a second poem almost straight away after you've done your first paragraph, you've covered both poems. Therefore, the cap is removed. If you only do half the question, you only get effectively half the marks, or thereabouts. Okay? If you only do 1 poem, for whatever reason, you are capped. Even if what you write is genius, you are capped at a level 2. Okay? If you write about 2 poems, and then you've only got 2 paragraphs, and that's all you write, there is no cap. You won't get a huge amount, but you will certainly get more than level 2. So let's make that link straight into Remains. Okay? How does Remains show us the madness of war? What idea does Simon Armitage have about the madness of war? It doesn't have to be the same. It can be completely different. It's still the same idea. William?
Guilt with war. The guilt that comes with war.
Okay. So, Simon Armitage. Okay. Now, we're naming the poems. Remember, this is about the choices they're making. Good. We need to have a bridge between the two. We don't need to say, on the other hand, however, in contrast to, not necessary. Because we're not comparing, we're making a link. So Simon Armitage, rather than focus on the mother, concentrates on the soldier and his guilt. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant bridge. You've acknowledged, I get the Janeway one, I get the Poppies, I get the mother, but you know what? This poem is a completely different angle, slightly different agenda. Perfect. Okay? Simon Armitage focuses, oops, no comma, not on a mother's loss, but rather now does the soldier, does he have an actual loss? Has he actually lost anything? Or is it a concept of loss?
Like it's a concept.
Concept of loss, because he's lost his humanity through his guilt. Yeah? But rather the concept of loss, the loss of humanity.
Use a dash there.
Yeah? Yeah? Of humanity. Of a serving, because remember he is alive, he's actually alive, he's still alive today, of a serving soldier who is, what is he fearful of? Where's the madness? Who is afraid of losing himself because of his guilt? Yeah? Who is afraid through impenetrable guilt. Let's get a bit of value judgment here. Is it accessible guilt? Can he get through the guilt? Can he
No.
impenetrable through? Okay. Now, as a bridge, that's quite detailed, but that bridge moves us into the idea that Armitage has. Absolutely fine. And again, you restart. So the where and the what, again, blend in together. We've kind of done the what. We've established what the focus is on. We've already looked at our bridge, which is the where part. Now let's go into the how. How does Armitage do it this time? He's a different poet. He's going to do different things. It's a different poem about something different, which is fine. If he's got something and he kind of does it in the same way, excellent. But you don't have to get lost in similarities or differences. You're not comparing. You're discussing. Okay? So what does he do? How does he use his poem and his poetry to show this?
Like by repeating probably arms and possibly not,
Go on.
because it's like saying probably arms, which is like justifying what he's saying, but then saying possibly not.
And why is it impenetrable? Why can't he escape from it?
Because
It's the repetition. Yeah?
I know it's
Yeah. So it works. Good. Okay.
teamwork.
So building on each other's ideas, which is really nice. So Armitage. Okay. Why are we not calling him Simon?
Because you don't know him.
We don't know him, and that's so rude. He's also the poet laureate, so we need to kind of bow down. And equally, it's wasted ink and time, and therefore my patience. So don't call him Simon. Armitage chooses. Now remember, chooses. He's made a choice. You identify that. You're identifying that the writer is making a conscious decision about this. It is crafted. That is going well into your level 5s. Armitage chooses to present. Now, do we like present, portray, illustrate, implies, depicts, insinuates, evokes, creates, explores, persuades, highlights, conveys, or reveals?
Illustrates.
Insinuate. Insinuate. I like that. So, right present.
Wait, did you just
Okay. Right present. Cross it out. The reason, okay, is because we're rereading it. We've written a bit. We're like, need to get the right word. Okay. This is the crafting. You reread, you write a bit, you reread it, you check it. Am I on the right line? Does it sound right? Yes, okay, I'm fine. No, need to change a little bit thing. Okay, a few things, and then you continue. So this is your 5-minute checking time. You use it as you go through. 10 seconds here, 5 seconds there. 30 seconds if it's a slightly bigger paragraph and you get carried away. Do not leave that until the end because it is too late. So Armitage chooses to insinuate. Yeah. Through the repeated, probably armed, yep. Possibly not. Okay. Is that kind of the how bit? Kind of. Do we now need to blend in the why?
Yes.
What is the really important word that allows us to go straight into the why without blinking? Because. Really simple. Keep it simple when you need to, complicate it when you need to. If you overcomplicate it when it's not necessary, you will get lost. Okay? Probably are, possibly not. Because. Why? Why has he done it? So we're dealing with afraid of losing himself through impenetrable guilt. The repetition. Go on.
The doubt that the person's creating in his mind. It means
Okay.
that he's
Because the soldier is doubting the decision he made. Okay. How many times is it repeated? Twice?
It's twice, yeah.
Okay. When is the second? It's repeated the second time.
In the
When he's sleeping. Yep, so the repetition, especially the second time, demonstrates, highlights, reveals, illustrates, conveys, alludes to. Alludes to a recurring
nightmare. Or you can use horror, terror or horror.
terror, because it's not
Yeah.
blood, guts and gore at this point, is it?
Yeah.
So recurring terror that even, what can he not escape? What does he try to use that don't work? Okay, even the oblivion from drugs, drink and drugs, drugs and drink. That even the oblivion from, what does he call it? Sorry, from quotes, drink and drugs will not. So the repetition, especially the second time, alludes to recurring terror that even the oblivion from drink and drugs will not relieve him.
Free him.
Olive? No?
Move his mind away from.
Too many words. Relieve, alleviate,
Free him.
free him.
Wait, what is subside?
That's brilliant. Look at that.
I believe that's an A star.
No, not quite.
How important?
No, we don't.
In order to get a 5, do you need at least 3 points?
Well, only a 5. What?
As in level of 6, level of 5.
Raise your standards, Marcus. Okay, so listen. Okay, so we've been doing this off and on for about an hour because of technology. Don't work with technology, animals or children at all together. Right, we've actually done quite a lot of stuff, and it's already 5 past. Okay, how long do you think it's taken us to do these?
45 minutes.
Just these 2 paragraphs, the actual amount of time.
We're at 15.
You're dealing with probably. Bear in mind, we've stopped, we've paused, we've talked. Okay, you're dealing with probably about 5 or 6 minutes per paragraph, or thereabout. And actually, if your question is 45 minutes, you're spending the first. Actually, let's write this down. Okay, so with a 45-minute question, you spend the first 10 minutes planning and annotating. No more than that. You may not need to spend as much as that, okay? But you're planning and annotating. Okay? I'm not talking massive notes. I'm not talking the level of notes that we have in the anthology currently, because that's based on lesson time. But you're picking out your 3 main ideas. So you're dealing with 3 main ideas, at least, I reckon. If you are struggling with timing, 2. Okay? That then gives you 35 minutes. You allow yourself 5 minutes check-in time that you're going to kind of bleed and sort of spread throughout it. So 5 minutes proof. Put that in brackets. That gives you 30 minutes. If you're writing 5-minute paragraphs, how many paragraphs are you writing? Really? Okay? 6 paragraphs. Okay? I reckon with 30 minutes, you've got 6 5-minute paragraphs. That means you've got 3 points about poppies, 3 points about remains. That's not bad. And they don't have to be the same length either. And they don't have to be necessarily as detailed as this. They can be quite quick, they can be quite short, or you can really get carried away with this one. Okay? Here, I think we've done a fair share. This is probably, I don't know, 15 minutes, 6 minutes each, which also involves that check-in time. So your writing time here doesn't involve your check-in time. So you could be spending about 6 or 7 minutes on a paragraph, which involves the check-in and the crafting, to then have a response that is about 2 sides, 2 and a bit sides. That's a decent amount of writing. But you should not have your pen on that paper for 45 minutes. Okay? Because you are thinking on your feet. I can't do that very well. I get lost and I end up by waffling and wandering all over the place. Okay? You have to be a little bit more systematic, but you are only looking for 3 ideas per poem. That isn't a massive thing. If you're really, really struggling with that, do 3 on one and 2 on another. 3 on the one in front of you, 2 on the one that you're having to pull from your head. Okay? So definitely named poem. Because it's there in front of you, use it. Which means you need to quote from it. If you are simply vague and you refer to the poem or the stuff in the poem as if you don't actually have the poem in front of you, you are not going to do very well. It is right there in front of you. It is a gift. Yeah? Use it. So the named poem, I reckon 3 points. Okay? If you are struggling with time, or simply things to write, or ideas, or you end up descending into mild panic thinking, I can only come up with two points or 2 quotes from the other poem, fine. Okay? The other one, give yourself 2. That's 5 paragraphs. That's okay. That's okay. That's about a side and a bit, 2 sides, depending on your size of writing. Okay? If you can put in another one, super. Yeah? Does that make sense? Okay.